The Atlanta Braves are off to an extremely hot start to begin the year. They currently have the best record in baseball at 15-6 and just ran through last year's World Series champions in the Texas Rangers and the ALCS runner-up in the Houston Astros. You could say that this was expected, especially if you took a look at their roster before the season started. But how they've gotten off to a hot start is a lot different than anyone would have expected. It was as early as the first couple innings on opening day when the Braves were going to need to deal with a little bit of adversity. In Sean Murphy's very first at bat of the season, he pulled an oblique muscle after taking a swing. And oblique injuries usually take quite a bit of time to heal. Sean Murphy was one of those guys that really shot this team forward in 2023 in the first half, putting up an OPS of nearly 1,000 and making a case to be in the MVP discussion if he kept it up for the rest of the year. However, he did not have a great second half of last year. Whether he was dealing with some sort of nagging injury or not in the second half, he played very poorly. People were looking forward for Sean Murphy to have a full offseason and right whatever wrong he was going through with his body or his swing. So this blow was kind of a big deal. Not to mention what he means behind the plate is one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. He was expected to be a rock in that lineup and on the field for 2024. It was also expected that Spencer Strider was going to build off his first full season as a starting pitcher this year after he had a great year last year. His ERA was a bit higher than expected, but he led the league in FIP and he also broke the Braves strikeout record for a single season. He also added a curveball to his arsenal, and in spring training he looked unhittable, which only added to the hype of what type of season he would have. Granted, it was only spring training, but he didn't give up a run until his last appearance. He was also making his first career opening day start, and he did very well against a great Philadelphia Phillies team. But his second start against the D-backs is when things started to look a bit concerning. His fastball, which usually sits in the upper 90s, was down to 95, and he was overall just getting hit very hard. After he was pulled, it revealed that he was experiencing some elbow discomfort, and it was later revealed that he had some sort of damage to his UCL. He would end up not getting Tommy John, but the internal brace procedure for the UCL, and is out for the year. Another awful blow to the Braves early this season. Ozzie Albies also just went on the injured list on Tuesday. Against the Houston Astros, he was hit by a pitch on his right foot and broke his big toe. Granted, he hasn't been out of the lineup for long, and he will miss less time than those previous two players we just talked about. He's been one of the better hitters in the early season for this Braves lineup. Batting average was over 300, on base percentage close to 400 with an OPS close to 900. And the Braves still have a long lineup without Sean Murphy, but they aren't exactly looking to shorten it in any way. Especially missing Strider, they realized they were going to have to rely a little bit more on that great hitting to win as many games as they want or expect. And losing Sean Murphy and Ozzie Albies is not the way to do it. But with these key players missing time, they've been getting some very good production from other players that weren't expected to produce at a high level, or at least as high of a level as they currently are producing. One of the first signings of the offseason was Reynaldo Lopez, who was coming off several decent years out of the bullpen, but nothing that was really eye-popping. The Braves signed him to a 3-year deal worth $10 million a year. They also announced that they were going to stretch him out as a starter and have him compete for the 5th starting pitching role. It didn't seem like a great idea to a lot of people, with good reason. The last time he started more than 10 games in a year was with the White Sox in 2019, where he led the entire MLB in earned runs with 110. So naturally, this didn't seem like a great idea. But so far, Reynaldo has made all the doubters look like absolute morons. In 3 starts, he has an ERA of 0.50 through 18 innings with a sub-1 whip. His FIP is only 2.18, and he has far and away played above expectations so far as a guy who is just going to be considered to be in the rotation. Turns out this was a fantastic idea. It was also a fantastic idea to keep Orlando Arcia as the starting shortstop moving into 2024. I know Orlando Arcia was an all-star last year, but he still didn't finish the year extremely positive. He finished with an OPS plus of 98, which is a below league average hitter, and he was also not great defensively. Let's be real. For a team with World Series aspirations, they're trying to improve in any way they can, and Orlando was one of the weakest everyday starters in that lineup last year. But so far this year, he is showing exactly why the Braves moved forward with him as their everyday shortstop. At the time of recording, he is hitting .338 with an OPS of 863 and an OPS plus of 138. Not only that, he is playing tremendous defense. He's currently in the 98th percentile and outs above average with 4, and he's just really stepping it up for this Braves team right now, which is also exactly what Travis d'Arnaud is doing. He got a lot of playing time last year with Sean Murphy's struggles and was decent for a backup catcher in their mid-30s. When your all-star catcher goes down with an injury, Travis d'Arnaud is one of those few guys that you feel comfortable with as a backup getting a big chunk of playing time. He also just has a great veteran presence and is very beloved in the clubhouse. Travis d'Arnaud could probably be the starting catcher for several teams. I think everyone thought he would produce just fine, but no one expected what Travis d'Arnaud has done in the last week or so. In the opening game against the Texas Rangers, Travis d'Arnaud went yard in his very first at bat, which is always a great sign. In the second at bat, he comes up and he does it again. Just a hell of a game from him already, and what a cool story. And he comes up to the plate for the third time in a pretty tough spot. It's a tied game with the bases loaded. And if you think like I do, your train of thought now goes something like this. Oh man, I really wish he would have saved one of those bombs for this moment, because there's no way he's going to hit 3 home runs this game. But he does it again. A 3-homer game against the Rangers, and the Braves go on to win, all because of this good game. He drove in 6 runs. The very next day, he hits another bomb, and the Braves go on to win that game as well. And Monday night, he goes yard again off Ryan Weathers and the Marlins. This makes 5 home runs in a span of 8 at-bats. That is unreal. And obviously, he's not going to keep that type of production up. But these types of performances are what really have boosted Atlanta's hot start. Couple guys that are really solid, but not expected to be the key contributors in this lineup or pitching staff. Just having big games and meaningful moments. This goes without mentioning the ridiculous tear that Marcell Ozuna has been on. Just casually leads the league in home runs with 9 so far. Just casually leads the league in RBI and slugging percentage as well. But he hit 40 home runs last year. He was expected to be one of the big contributors this season. Maybe not to this extent, but still a key contributor. The bullpen has also just been one of the things that has kept Atlanta in a ton of games this year. Guys like Pierce Johnson who have done well. Guys like Dylan Lee who has a sub-1 ERA with 10 innings pitched. AJ Minter has been great. He also just set the Braves franchise record for all-time career holds, which is an incredibly cool story. Joe Jimenez has been great. Raisel Iglesias has gotten off to another fantastic start. And there's no way we can talk about this Braves bullpen without talking about Jesse Chavez, the guy who just turns into prime Mariano Rivera whenever he puts on a Braves uniform. Keep in mind, the White Sox cut this guy before the season started. The Braves immediately gave him a contract, immediately put him in the bullpen, and he's produced at a high level so far. It seems like he becomes a regular AAA pitcher whenever he puts on a different uniform, but this Braves uniform is something special to him. And because of all these guys stepping up, no one is talking about how Austin Riley and Matt Olson haven't been themselves. No one talks about how Matt Olson is hitting 143 over his last 35 at bats with 14 strikeouts and an OPS under 500. No one is talking about how Austin Riley only has 2 home runs to start the season, and not many people are talking about how Ronald Acuna Jr. only has 1 home run to start the season, although he is still playing really well, just not at the MVP level like he was last year. And no one is talking about this because the Braves are still 16-5, and everyone is coming together as a team and stepping up when someone is hurt or struggling whenever they can. Although they will most likely not produce at this high level for very long, they are doing it when it's most needed. And they definitely need it right now because the objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. And those objects are the Philadelphia Phillies, who are playing ridiculous right now. Their starting rotation has been doing amazing things. It is fortunate for the Braves that it's only those 3 injuries to Spencer Strider, Sean Murphy, and Ozzie Albies thus far. Other teams like the Red Sox have it much worse. Basically, their whole starting lineup is on the injured list, as well as their starting rotation. Hopefully the Braves or any other team don't have anyone else go down with injury, but it's baseball. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be plenty of injuries throughout the year, but if and when it happens, it's always great that so many other players can step up and make a large impact in meaningful games.